XRP price predictions have gone wild, and somehow $10,000 became the number everyone keeps repeating. But let's be honest. Mathematically, economically, and even technologically, it's impossible. So why do people still believe it? And what's the highest realistic price XRP could ever reach? Let's dive in. The $10,000 prediction didn't come from Ripple, banks, or real analysts. It came from YouTube thumbnails, misinterpreted liquidity theories, and the idea that global payments automatically require extreme prices. A narrative built on repetition, not economics. And understanding where it began is the first step to seeing why it doesn't hold up. A common claim is that XRP must reach extreme prices to handle global transaction volume. But transaction volume has nothing to do with asset value. The US dollar moves trillions every day, yet a dollar still equals $1. High utility doesn't require a high price. It requires liquidity, not fantasy. A 10,000 XRP would be volatile, speculative, and unpredictable, everything banks avoid. Financial institutions don't use assets because they're expensive. They use them because they're reliable. High price does not equal high usefulness. A bridge asset must be boring, stable, and liquid, not a lottery ticket. Bitcoin can hit extreme prices because it only has 21 million coins. XRP began with 100 billion, and no amount of optimism rewrites supply math. Cutting a pizza into 100 billion slices doesn't make it bigger than a pizza cut into 21 slices. XRP's supply alone makes 4-digit prices impossible. Bitcoin is a store of value. XRP is not. Its job is to move value between currencies, not to become a scarce asset held for decades. Its purpose shapes its price. Bridge assets thrive when they're stable and abundant, not when they're rare and unreachable. Some believers argue that XRP could burn enough tokens to force the price higher, but Ripple doesn't own the global supply. Validators won't coordinate a network-wide burn, and destroying billions would break the very ecosystem institutions rely on. Burns decrease supply, yes, but not enough to turn 100 billion tokens into a $10,000 asset. Another viral argument claims XRP will become the world's reserve currency. But no government will adopt a private token it can't control. No central bank will surrender monetary sovereignty, and no country replaces its currency with an asset it doesn't issue. It's a myth built on imagination, not international policy. At $10,000, XRP's market cap would exceed $1 quadrillion, 5 times the total wealth of the entire planet. More than global stocks, bonds, gold, real estate, and money supply combined. Before XRP could ever reach that price, the global economy itself would collapse under the math. If the math is impossible, why does the myth keep spreading? Because extreme predictions sell. They promise instant wealth, require zero analysis, and travel faster than facts. For many people, 10,000 XRP isn't a forecast. It's an escape fantasy wrapped in financial terms. Online communities repeat the same claims until they feel true. One influencer says $10,000, others echo it, and suddenly it becomes common knowledge. But repetition isn't evidence. It's just how echo chambers turn opinions into facts. If $10,000 is impossible, then what does a realistic future look like? Not based on dreams, based on liquidity, adoption, supply, and market structure. because even without fantasy numbers, XRP has room to grow, and the real scenarios tell a story far more grounded and far more achievable than the myth ever did. Under normal market conditions, moderate adoption, steady Ripple net growth, and overall crypto expansion, XRP can move, but not skyrocket. A realistic range sits around $3 to $7, driven by liquidity improvements rather than hype. Strong returns? Yes. Life-changing 10,000 predictions? No. This range aligns with liquidity needs, historical performance, and market structure. It reflects what XRP can reasonably achieve without extreme global events. For many assets, a 3 to 10 times move is already a massive success. XRP doesn't need miracles. It just needs continued adoption and regulatory clarity. If global corridors expand, Ripple gains stronger institutional partnerships, and US regulation finally provides clarity, XRP could climb higher. In this optimistic scenario, $10 to $15 becomes possible. A serious valuation supported by utility, not fantasy. Ambitious? Yes, but still grounded in reality. This level requires large-scale enterprise adoption, deeper liquidity pools, expanded ODL usage, new financial corridors, and a supportive regulatory environment. None of this implies a 10,000 XRP, but it absolutely could support a double-digit one. Utility grows price within limits. This is the absolute ceiling. A world where institutions worldwide rely on XRP, liquidity hubs dominate cross-border settlement, and crypto adoption reaches historic highs. In that extraordinary case, XRP might touch $20 to $30. A huge achievement, yet still hundreds of times below the $10,000 fantasy. A $30 XRP would mean massive liquidity, adoption, and institutional integration. It would place XRP among the most valuable assets on Earth, surpassing major corporations and rivaling top global commodities. It's a giant milestone, but still nowhere near the impossible trillion-plus valuations required for $10,000. XRP's real power doesn't come from extreme prices. It comes from adoption, growing liquidity hubs, expanding corridors, institutional integration, and regulatory clarity. These fundamentals can lift XRP significantly, but within economic limits. The stronger the utility, the stronger, but also more stable, the price. The true moonshot for XRP isn't $10,000. It's becoming a global standard for cross-border transfers. An asset used everywhere, quietly powering transactions behind the scenes. Not flashy, not mythical, just essential. And essential assets last far longer than hype cycles. XRP doesn't need a mythical price to succeed. It just needs adoption, reliability, and institutional trust. Even at $15 or $30, it would become one of the most important financial assets in the world without breaking economic laws. A realistic win is still a massive win. $10,000 XRP makes for exciting thumbnails, but terrible economics. Yet XRP doesn't need fantasy to matter. Its future comes from real-world usage, not imaginary valuations. And that future is stronger than any hype cycle because it's built on utility, not dreams. XRP doesn't need impossible numbers to matter. Its strength comes from adoption, trust, and real-world impact, not fantasies that collapse under basic math. A realistic future can still be a massive one. If you want to explore the world of crypto, don't chase miracles. Educate yourself. Because in this world, a simple click can change a life. but only knowledge can protect your future.